there, I'm Jules, and big welcome to the Making Ice Cream Masterclass. So really excited about this class. This is the only class in the kind of whole cookery school calendar that I actually have just done for me, really. Just an excuse to make lots of ice cream. So, I love ice cream. It's kind of my weakness, and ever since I bought an ice cream maker, it was a big thing. It cost me a lot of money, but it took up so much space and I didn't really like it. But it gave good results. But I've kind of always been looking for a way to kind of make ice cream without a machine so that I could get rid of the ice cream machine, and I finally have. So this class is dedicated to that. Big welcome to everyone. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about, kind of give you the background of how ice cream's normally made traditionally, and then kind of talk you through our methods and why they work without using a machine. And then we'll have a look at kind of some general tips on making ice cream that are going to be covered across all the recipes. And I've got my notes here. What else are we looking at? Oh yeah, and then I'll have a quick chat about how to adapt kind of any recipe that you come across to kind of this method, so that when you're flicking through a magazine and you see something that looks delicious, you'll be able to know that you'll be able to make it at home yourself. And and that's pretty much it. So we've got a fair bit to cover. So the first step is usually in traditional ice cream making is to make a custard base. So using eggs, sugar, cream, and sometimes milk. And it's that's quite an art form in itself, because you need to heat the egg yolks up enough to cook them and to get them to thicken the base. But then if you heat it too high, I think it's over 70 degrees C, it'll curdle. So it's kind of like this fine line. So it takes some time, and it's a pain to do kind of thing. And then once you get your custard made, then you need to chill it and then finally freeze it in an ice cream machine. And the way ice cream machines work is that as they're freezing, they're actually got a beater paddling inside, so the mixture's always moving around, so that any ice crystals that form, they get kind of mixed, and they stay small. They don't kind of grow into big ice crystals. Whereas if you take that custard and just put it in your freezer, it's just going to sit there. It'll freeze, but the ice crystals will slowly grow, and nothing's going to inhibit them. So you get that kind of icy, icky texture. Whereas when you keep whipping it or keep mixing it, you get that lovely creamy smooth texture. And then in commercial ice cream manufacturers, they often they whip air into the custard as well while they're freezing it, and that has the added benefit of making it lighter. So it helps with the creamy mouthfeel, but it also makes the volume bigger. Or so to fill up, a kind of a 1 quart tub or a litre tub kind of thing, you don't actually use as much ice cream mixture because you've got so much air in there. So it kind of keeps costs down as well. But it also means that it's kind of less fatty as well, so it's better for your waistline. So the first one, which is our classic method, and that's to use a lot of sugar and to whip the cream. So what we're doing here is, rather than breaking up the ice crystals using like a mechanical method, what we're doing is just making the ice cream base, putting a heap of sugar in there. So that actually changes the freezing point of the mixture, and it means that the ice crystals, big ice crystals, can't physically form in there because there's not enough space for them. Is probably a good way to think about it. But then to make sure that the mixture's light and airy and kind of has that lovely texture, then we're also whipping the cream to give it that kind of beautiful smooth mouthfeel. So that's our secret. And without the right amount of sugar, then your ice cream's not going to work. So that's kind of what the method that we're most relying on. And then the second method that I'll touch on briefly during the class, but it's pretty kind of straightforward, is to customize commercial ice cream. So kind of outsource the churning thing. So just buy your favorite vanilla ice cream, or whatever, chocolate. If you want to make it, say you wanted to make a choc chip ice cream, a double choc ice cream, you can buy your favorite chocolate ice cream, then just leave it in the fridge, get it out of the freezer and let it soften for half an hour or so, and then get your choc chips, stir them through, pop it back in the freezer, and there you go. And then the third method, which works really well for sorbets and things like fruit, is to actually start with something frozen and then whiz it in your food processor. So that that action of the food processor actually breaks down the crystals as it kind of melts the mixture a little bit, and you kind of get that lovely slushy consistency. So that's something I've been doing for ages with berries. You know, I always have some berries in the freezer, and if I need a quick dessert, I can just grab them out and kind of add a little bit of sugar and pop them in the food processor, and you have an instant dessert. The fourth method, which we won't be using in the class, is using liquid nitrogen. So if you have, or you can use liquid dry ice as well. And that's just because that's so super cold. When you add that to your cream mixture, it just freezes it really quickly. So kind of another way to keep your ice crystals small is to freeze really, really quickly. And then kind of the mixture will be frozen, and the big ice crystals haven't had a chance to grow. So just that's kind of one for general interest. If you're into Heston Blumenthal, he makes his ice cream that way. And then lastly, for our chocolate ice cream, I found actually this was kind of the first ice cream that I figured out how to make without using a machine. And there's something with cocoa powder, when you mix that into an ice cream mix and custard base and you freeze it, the cocoa powder actually works to inhibit the ice crystals as well. So that's just kind of an interesting thing, but it only works for chocolate. I haven't found out anything else that kind of works in a similar way, so it's kind of quite unique. Quick note about cream. I know cream around the world, it's called all sorts of different things, but we're using the rule of thumb is you want to use a cream that's going to whip well. So wherever you are, whichever cream everyone uses to whip things, that's the cream. For those of you that want a bit more technical detail, if you look at the side of the pack, often, in Australia anyway, by law, they have to put on the percentage milk fat, the minimum amount of milk fat that's in each type of cream. So we're looking for about 35% milk fat. We're using icing sugar, so that's it likes to have lumps, but it's like powdered sugar, or it's also known as confectioner's sugar. Okay, then in terms of I made heaps of ice cream just using like my whisk. So you could just you can get them from any supermarket kind of thing. They're only a couple of dollars, and it's a bit of a workout. And when you start, you think this is never going to thicken, and then it always does. So that's a great thing to use. Or you'll notice in most of the videos I've actually been using my stand mixer, which my grandmother I inherited from my grandmother. Just because I was making so many ice creams on the day, I would have had muscles like crazy. So, but yeah, feel free to use either. It's up to you. For freezing. So this is the this is the only thing I've got left of my ice cream machine. I threw it out when I moved, but this little bucket it used to sit inside the ice cream machine, and it's great because it's metal, so it'll conduct the heat or conduct the cold really quickly. So if you've got something metal and if you're in a hurry, if you can find something metal to freeze, that would be the preferred option, but you don't need to worry about that. I tend to use these Pyrex containers, they're glass, and something like this one will be great, but it's kind of quite dense, and if you fill it up, it can take a long time for the heat to get to the middle, so it'll take longer to freeze. Whereas if I put the same amount of mixture into this container, it'll be in a kind of a thin layer, so there's more surface area, so if you think of it that way, and so it's going to freeze a lot quicker. So that just a heads up that if time isn't an issue, then you just it's no dramas. You just pop it, use whatever, and pop it in the freezer. Additives. So this is just something to think about. When you're making something like if you want to put nuts into your ice cream, or a praline or honeycomb or something like that. When commercial manufacturers are making ice cream, they actually always use things that have like anything that can go soggy. They'll make sure it's got they'll actually get it coated in fat, so that acts as a barrier between the thing that you want to keep crunchy and the moisture in the ice cream. So that's kind of just a little bit of a trick, an insider trick. So for us, when we're making ice cream at home, if I want to add something like a praline, that's just a sugar mixture that's eventually going to dissolve in the liquid in the ice cream, I'll just add that just before I serve. So I'll either just sprinkle it on top so people can mush it through the ice cream, or I'll stir it through the ice cream and serve kind of straight away. So so something like honeycomb, anything that could go soggy that you don't want to go soggy, nuts, that's kind of the best approach. But then of course there are some things that are lovely when they go soggy. So I've used I made a cheesecake before, and kind of crumbled that up and stirred that through ice cream, and it's just yum. Or brownies, you know, kind of all those sorts of things that, you know, where a squidgy texture is good, you know, that they work really well. A cinnamon ice cream or a vanilla where they're actually getting the cream and adding the flavouring, so the cinnamon stick or vanilla beans, and letting them kind of heat, you know, come to a simmer, and then just kind of infuse the flavour into the cream, and then throw out the stick and make your ice cream using that, which is fine for a custard base. But when we actually need to whip our cream to kind of get the good results that we're after with our method. And I actually did try to make some cinnamon ice cream using that method, but when you heat cream up, it doesn't whip, so that's not a good option. So what you can do, one way around that is, you know, you could use cinnamon powder, ground cinnamon, instead of kind of whole cinnamon sticks. Or vanilla, you can use, like, just scrape the seeds out of the vanilla pod and use those instead of a whole bean. Or the alternative is if it's something that you really have to infuse, so you wanted to make like a Earl Grey tea ice cream, you could infuse the tea leaves into like a small amount of the cream, so, you know, say a quarter of a cup of the cream, whip the rest of the cream, and then, you know, just stir that infused, like, highly flavoured cream through at the end. So that's kind of how we get around that one. I want you to walk away from this class kind of feeling like you know ice cream, you can do ice cream kind of thing. You're not just going to learn the 10 recipes and, you know, the other links that I'm going to put up. You're going to have the flexibility and the power, kind of ice cream powers, to be able to kind of, you know, play around and do what you want. So the next time you're flipping through a magazine and you see that lovely sounding exotic ice cream, then you go, okay, I'm not going to be able to use my ice cream machine to make that because I don't have one, but I'll be able to figure out a way. So the first thing to do when you're looking to adapt is to kind of ask yourself, you know, how are they adding the flavour? So I've given an example. I've got a link there to a pistachio nougat ice cream that I did on Stone Soup years ago. And so in that case, they're actually just getting, you know, an ice cream base, and they're chopping up some pistachio nougat just from the shop, or I've got a recipe, you can make your own, and then they're just stirring that through. So that's easy. That's the first kind of thing, is like just to think how they're getting the flavour. And then the second thing is to look at the ice creams that we do have recipes for, and kind of figure out which one would be the best match in terms of the base flavour. So if it's a chocolate base, you know, we've got our chocolate, we've got our caramel, we've got our vanilla, you know, we've got a raspberry ripple, so you can kind of take it from there. So to kind of choose your base recipe. And then the third step is to kind of work out how much flavour you need. So and the way, I've got a worked example down in the notes, so probably rather than me try and explain it here, if you're interested in that, just have a look. And then the fourth thing is, if you're not sure and there's something you really want to make and you kind of can't figure it out, just drop me an email or ask me in one of the webinars, you know, anytime in the future, and we'll work it out together, and it can be a little challenge. Yeah, it'd be good fun. And then just finally a little note about alcohol. I don't know why this is separate, but yeah, so alcohol is something that also affects the freezing point of your ice cream. So just be careful, just in normal life, you know, be careful of too much booze. It'll affect your ice cream. So, you know, a little bit goes a long way. But we're not doing any alcohol ice creams in this class. And that's it. So, you know, enjoy the class. Looking forward to the webinar. You get on Flickr and share which ice creams you've been making. I hope you'll really enjoy.